All right, welcome to Tip Tuesday number 7. In case you missed it, number 6 last week was an overview of local digital advertising. So if you'd like to learn the basics on how to set up digital ads for local businesses and what some of the types of ads are that are available, be sure to check that out. You can find it at Trivera.com or on our YouTube channel. I am Christina Stetter. I'm the EVP at Trivera. And this week we are talking about how reporting can illustrate marketing's value to your organization. And so I'm talking with Chris Graham, who is a longtime friend of many of us at Trivera and a fantastic online marketing expert. Can you introduce yourself to everybody, Chris?
Sure. Thank you very much, Christina, for inviting me to be a part of the session today. I've been working with Trivera for a little over 10 years, and I've been working in the digital marketing field for over 15 years in the Milwaukee area for several well-known businesses.
That's great. Before we get started, I want to mention that obviously we are both at home and we have little people and pets here. So if we get interrupted, please excuse us because that's just the kind of stuff that happens when you have little people and pets.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about today is one of the biggest challenges faced by marketers, which is when business slows down, usually the first thing that gets cut is the marketing budget. Historically, they get cut by an average of about 10% from different areas, obviously, depending on what's going on. Right now, obviously, everything that's related to a live event is getting slashed. But there are many, many examples of companies throughout history who bucked that trend. And on the other side, they come out as the market leader. So the good news, I did some research and discovered that right now there's some conflicting data, but surveys are showing that many businesses are just shifting their dollars around rather than slashing budgets. But the point of today's conversation is for all of us to be thinking about the reason that marketing budgets get slashed is because often marketing is not seen as critical to the success of the company. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but as marketers, I think we need to own up to some of that and take some of the blame for it. We don't always do a great job of communicating ROI and the value we bring to our organizations. Have you ever had that happen to you, Chris?
Oh, definitely. There have been definite times where I'm all geeking out over the metrics and how something performed, and I was not able to actually communicate back how it actually made a business difference. I remember looking at how we were trying to drive business to a brick and mortar location once. And we had been running display ads for several months, but we didn't see an increase in traffic in that physical location that we were targeting. However, I knew through my experience that by targeting some potential customers with PPC ads further down in the sales funnel, which we'll get to shortly, we would actually achieve that business objective. So by moving those marketing dollars from display to pay-per-click, we saw the increase in physical location, in traffic to that physical location. However, when I was sharing this information to others in the business, I explained more about clicks and conversions about the new ads than how it actually all tied together into the business goals. And seeing people's reactions were very puzzling, like, I just don't get it, I don't understand. From their perspective, someone who's not a digital marketer, who's not living and breathing this every day, as many of us are. And I explained how targeting those customers when they were making a decision of where to go helped drive visits to the location we were trying to target. And by actually making that small move in the marketing dollars, we helped generate an increase of X amount of dollars in revenue.
It makes a lot of sense. I think that sometimes we run into, there's kind of two problems. One is sometimes the CEO doesn't, like in your case, understand the metric and what it means. In that case, at Trivera, we learned to simplify our reporting in a lot of cases because we're so in the weeds. We get, like you said, you geek out over the data and we want to share it all, but they don't want to deal with all that complexity. They just want to know what is the bottom line, or they don't have the background information to understand how all these data points connect together. The other challenge we sometimes see is that an executive might favor a more visual approach. So like in your example with the digital display ads, someone might favor something like that because it looks cooler, so it must work better than this simple text-based ad. And so the reporting can really help people understand what actually is working and what isn't. But then the question becomes, how do we report effectively? So how do you usually start that process, Chris?
I like to actually understand the business goal we're trying to achieve, specifically with the website. Is the website there to generate brand awareness, kind of just talk about the company? Is it trying to generate leads? Are we trying to get people to fill out a form and contact us and ask for more information? Is it for online sales? Are we trying to sell widgets or shoes or gift cards or something like that? So we can actually track how many sales. Or are we just publishing content, talking about our services? Or is it some sort of combination of all of these together? Once you determine the objective you're trying to achieve, then you should determine the metric to use to show the effectiveness of your marketing effort. Now, I have found this great graphic here of how to actually choose which metric to actually report on. So I'm going to share my graphic right here. There we go.
Okay.
So in full disclosure, I did not make this. I'm actually borrowing it from someone who's obviously from Britain because they spell organization with an S rather than a Z. But looking at the metric, does it actually align with the goals of our organization or with that business goal? If it does, full on, then yes, we need to track that. That's sales, conversions, if you're actually trying to sell something. Or is it if it's not something that's easily understandable to people outside of marketing, does it lead to the success of that key performance indicator, that KPI? This is something like an open rate of an email or something like that. If that is something that's important, we might want to track it, but we might not actually want to be reporting back to it. Because it might just help us understand a little bit more about the marketing efforts, how things are going. But people outside of marketing, business leaders, decision makers, they might not actually understand that metric. So that's not be something that we want to be reporting on. Now, how do you actually determine what needs to be reported on and what doesn't? I found another great graphic here that actually helps understand what the KPI is and what that leading indicator we want to be showing. So I'm going to show this channel. So for digital marketing specifically, it's for social media, we always want to we always want to be looking at how many followers we have, how many likes, or how many followers we get on Instagram. But to a C-level executive, they're not going to understand, or they're not going to really care how many likes we have on Facebook. They want to know conversions. So how many followers, how big is our audience on social, how engaged are they, how many times are they coming from social to our website, and then how many times are actually doing what we want them to do, converting. So that conversion is that primary KPI. But we in digital marketing are following all of these other indicators or things that lead up to that primary KPI. For emails, it might be that delivery rate or that open rate. How effective are your email subject lines? Are you actually getting people to open that email? Well, if you are, great, because that way then they're clicking through in that email and then they're coming to your website and then they're converting. So there's lots of different metrics out there, and it's just trying to figure out which ones do we report on and which ones do we follow for our own knowledge to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing to get that final conversion.
That's really cool. I have a graphic that kind of illustrates how that all comes together. So let me share that. So this is one, obviously I stole it from HubSpot, and they look at, instead of a sales funnel, which is obviously something that exists in a very traditional way of looking at sales, they look at it more as a flywheel. So you've got your customer here in the center, and it's important to remember that you are always trying to attract, engage, and delight. And people go around and around this circle, because when you get to the delight stage, you either want them to be advocating for you or you want them to repurchase from you. And at different stages of the funnel, you will measure different activities. And so not all of these things are the final conversion. If someone is unfamiliar with your brand, they have to go through that attraction stage before they can engage and convert. And so you need to measure all of these things that Chris talked about so that you can show intent, because there are things that people do when they visit a website that show that they want to purchase from you, just not today. And so I think a lot of times CEOs tend to look at that final conversion, that macro conversion, and not realize all of the steps that people go as they move their way either around the circle or through the sales funnel. So those we call micro conversions. So do they download a white paper? Do they watch a key video or view a key page before they get to the part where they're asking to submit an RFP or purchase a gift card or purchase an item or fill out a contact form? And so you have to think about it in terms of what are the small acts, because people are not going to make that macro conversion in one visit. That would be like if somebody asked you to marry them on the first date. That just doesn't happen. It's weird and it's creepy. So usually people go through a courting phase where they learn more about you and then you get married.
Yeah, that flywheel graphic is a great one, Christina. I found one that I like to look at as well. It's a little bit more traditional in the funnel size, but here we go.
Oh yeah, this is good.
So this shows reach, act, convert, engage as part of the digital marketing sales funnel, and how people are actually interacting with your content and where they're falling into that funnel. So when we're trying to when we understand our business goal and we're trying to then understand what are those KPIs we want to be reporting on, it really helps to understand, to know like what your goal is and what you're trying to report on. Because if you're in the reach phase and you are doing brand awareness, well, you want to be showing how many unique visitors are coming to your website, how many more social followers are you getting. If that's your goal, those are the kinds of key measures that you're trying to report on. If people are doing maybe more lead generation, they're a little bit further down in that sales funnel. They're at that act stage. This is when they're visiting your website, reading your blog, interacting with you a little bit more. And at this stage is where they're actually filling out that conversion form. They're asking for more information from you. Now, if this is not your business goal, if you're trying to actually get them to convert to sales, well, we want to know how many followers we have or how many visits were coming to the website. How long are people spending on the site? How much content are they actually consuming? Are online? Are they or on social media? Are they sharing? Are they commenting on our stuff? Are they trying to be making some decisions? These are metrics for them to be following there. When they actually convert, if you're trying to do online sales or something like that, this is that conversion phase of making that purchase. How many widgets did I sell? How many reservations do I have at the hotel? How many gift cards did I sell? This is the stage where we're trying to report on those key measures. If the next one is that we're trying to build brand loyalty, the final stage here of engaging, they're actually advocates for you. They're out there making those reviews on Yelp or TripAdvisor or Google reviews. They're sharing your content online and they're giving personal stories about like how they actually used your product or used your service or worked with you to get something that they wanted to get done. And they're helping drive more information into people who are at the other stages of that sales funnel. So if you're more into an advocacy phase for your business goal, those are the kind of key measures that you want to be reporting on.
That's really cool. I think it's important for everyone to remember that most of the things that are on that flowchart there, if they're set up correctly, you can track all this stuff in Google Analytics. Now, of course, you need to understand analytics, and it's critical to good reporting, but if you're not trained in it, looking at analytics can be like drinking out of a fire hose. There's just so much data, and depending on how you look at it, it can feel like it conflicts with itself. So one of the things you can do is you can set up dashboards for your executives to look at, which then narrows down the scope of the information that they're viewing. Or one of the things we do at Trivera is we pull out data from analytics as well as from social channels and advertising campaigns, and we use Google Data Studio to showcase all the important stuff. And like I said before, if you need to, start with a simple report. And if you really need to, even sometimes we'll put a glossary of terms on each page, because if you're reporting to someone who doesn't understand the difference between a site visit and a site session, that is important for them to understand those two concepts and how they relate to each other. So we'll just put those terms right there to make it really easy. And then you can make the reports more complex as time goes on as your audience's understanding of what you can report on and what all of it means increases.
Definitely. And when you're creating these reports, knowing who your audience is critical. Your marketing team is going to want to know a certain set of metrics. How effective is your marketing campaign? How many people are being reached? How many people are clicking through on your different campaigns, be it display ads, PPC, or emails. Your operations team, though, they're going to want to get into the nitty gritty. What is important to them? They're going to want to know how many people are actually converting. How many widgets are we selling? How many reservations did we get in the hotel room? Did it sell out? How many gift cards actually got sold online? How many things do I have to be putting in the mail to get out to people? And then your finance team are going to want to still know other metrics. How much money are you spending? How effective is it? What is that ROI? How much sales are being driven because you're spending this money elsewhere? Someone once told me when I showed them a report, what's the story behind the numbers? I can see weekly if a metric went up or down, but I just want to know, why did that happen? So it's great to understand all of these KPIs and metrics and making up these wonderful, beautiful reports to share with everybody. But it's not just understanding those numbers, it's having a deeper understanding of what the marketing initiatives are that are happening to drive those numbers, to tell that story. Sometimes you have to know, like, was there new content published on the website? Or was there an email sent to a new audience that obviously is more engaged to help drive numbers? Was there a new headline on the website? Was there a new section added? Did a traditional media campaign launch? Do you need to know, like, when do billboards start? When do radio ads start? Was there a print ad that happened? Or was there a PR story that hit the news? Digital marketing metrics can help showcase the overall effectiveness of the entire marketing plan.
Yeah, I think that's a really important concept. I actually just read a recent McKinsey study that showed that only about 25% of CMOs are what they call unifiers, which means they know how to work with the C-suite really well. And so the unifiers are the ones who understand what matters to the C-suite, and they explain how what they're doing helps them achieve their goals. But for those people, they are 25% more likely to have the CEO as a marketing advocate. They're more likely to get a clear seat at the table when it's time to make decisions. And they're more likely to have authority over budgets and decisions and direction for the company. So you really need to understand your C-suite as much as you understand your target customer. It's kind of like we always say for SEO, your target market is your target market, but Google is also your target market. And it's the same thing with reporting. Your customer is your target market, but your C-suite is your target market for your reporting. So you need to know them just like you know a customer.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely felt in my experience that being a unifier in the company is key to being an effective marketer. You need to get to learn everyone's internal perspective on what they see as success in achieving that overall business objective. And once you can share a report showing how the business objective was met and how it also hit the KPIs as defined by those internal teams, it's a win-win-win situation.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line is really that reporting obviously can make the difference between the success and failure of your campaigns, because it helps you see as something is happening where you can improve it. But don't overlook the power of reporting for building bridges within your company and helping your C-suite understand the power and the critical nature of what you as a marketer do. So that's it for today. Starting with next week's Tip Tuesday, I'm going to be talking with Jamie Reinhardt, who is our Director of Sales. And we are going to talk about how sales and marketing can work together to drive results for the bottom line. So thank you so much, Chris, for talking to me today. I really appreciate all the research you did and the great graphics you brought. So thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye, Christina. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this today.
Yeah, bye.